Welcome back, guys. Another episode of Talk Therapy, episode 3 to be exact. Today, we decided to bring this little monster on, as a monster because we're talking about violence.
Yes.
And you can see he's pretty violent, huh?
He is dressed for the occasion, and for you people that have been here since episode 1, you would know that are watching, he's been in every one of our podcast episodes.
Well, welcome. Like I said, we're talking about violence. What is violence? Do we agree with it? Our opinions, maybe some facts, and let's get to it. What do you got to say about violence? How do you feel about violence?
I don't agree with violence, but do you think before we even get too deep into it, we should get a basis level of what violence is, like the logical term? Like, did you want to read the definition so we can know before we go into perceptions of it?
I'll read all three of what violence is. So basically, it's as a noun. It says behavior involving a physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something. Or another one is a strength of emotion or an unpleasant or destructive natural force. And the last one, it says law. It says an unlawful exercise of physical force or intimidation by exhibition of such force. So essentially the first one, intending to hurt, damage, or kill somebody or something.
Okay, I agree. I just wanted to make sure that we were all in the same understanding going into this. Okay, so I do not agree with violence in any way at all. I don't think that violence, I don't think that uncontrolled violence is okay.
What's an example of uncontrolled violence?
Like anything outside of boxing and
okay,
stuff like
so
that.
Unplanned violence.
I guess because I don't believe in oh, he did me wrong, I'm gonna go punch him. I don't think that's okay. And even if someone did the most awful thing to my family member, God forbid, that doesn't happen, but I would be very upset and I'd be very hurt. But I don't think two wrongs make a right, as cheesy as it sounds. And it just it would hurt me more to have to see more people hurting.
Wow.
So what is your view just on that? Is violence ever okay?
Just to make it clear, if anyone hurts their family, I'm gonna hurt them if she doesn't. So I believe in violence, very much so. I like violence. Yeah, I don't know. I thoroughly believe that there are people on this earth that deserve it. Not saying I'm the one to be the judge of that, but I can judge it from my own personal opinion whether somebody deserves it. So I'm not saying God or anybody says it, but I say it, so I'm going to do it.
But there's a time and a place. You don't think we should just go out wildly like the Purge and just be violent?
No. I'm actually not a violent person at all until I get messed with or I see some wrongdoing of some sort. Even then, it has to be pretty specific for me to want to involve myself, like somebody getting bullied, somebody, maybe domestic violence. I'm not going to let a guy hit a girl. I'm going to go fight him or stop it somehow, some way, some shape, some form.
So you think things that go against your moral values is when you think you need to take the next step because it's wrong?
I believe in violence to protect innocence. That's a good way of putting it.
For sure.
Children, babies, women. Women aren't all innocent, but in general speaking, I think you understand what I'm saying.
I think
animals specifically, I'm actually very passionate about. Animals. Animals are so innocent. When you see somebody walking on a leash and they're like, "Come on!" What are you doing, bro? Why do you even have a dog? Why do you have I don't know. I don't understand that. It makes you want to punch them in the face. So I guess I do believe violence. I mean, I don't because I'm gonna go to jail. And honestly, the thought of going to jail and maybe getting a felony or something like that hinders me in my life, so it stops me from doing that.
Yeah.
But if I could, I would walk up to the person doing that to the animal and I would beat them up. I would want to do exactly what they're doing to the dog. I'd want to put them on a leash.
So if in an ideal world where we can do what we want and live the way that we want, you would take it upon yourself to punish those people, but because unfortunately, we live in a world where it's very controlled.
Yeah.
You're gonna have enough self-control to not do those things, but it doesn't change your beliefs on what those people deserve.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a time and a place, like you said, and it's fortunate to a certain extent that there are laws like that in place because there are people that don't know how to control it.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate thing is I do know, at least I feel like I know how to control my own anger.
Yeah.
And I know how to react in certain ways that, I wouldn't want to kill anybody, but I would want to put somebody in their place to know that they cannot mess with a dog like that or cannot hit their girlfriend. Like, I'm going to hurt them bad enough to where they're like, oh, if I, think about it. I think about it this way. If that person thinks to themselves, if I hit my girlfriend, this happens to me, and then they stop hitting their girlfriend because they know every time they hit their girlfriend, something like that's going to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody believed in not having domestic violence, and every time they saw a guy hit a girl or somebody beat their girlfriend and they all went and jumped him, I guarantee women would not be getting hit anymore.
Yeah, but if we all had that belief, then we would never have a problem.
It's true.
But yeah, you're kind of giving them the punishment for their actions so they know not to do that again.
Yeah.
In simple terms. And it's just like really hard because whether it's right or wrong to get involved, even if you did feel it was right to get involved, I feel like nowadays it's not even like safe to get involved. And it just like sucks because people don't fight fair anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you're over here just trying to talk some sense into someone like, hey, bro, like it's not that serious. Like we need to calm down. And they're over here pulling a gun on you.
Yeah.
Or like, like you get in a little fight and, you're going to throw hands and they're going to stab you. Like, it's just so unfortunate that we can't just resolve conflict calmly. See, I'm so on the opposite side of violence. Like,
I mean,
but it's not wrong. I see your point of view. I think just because what I've been through in my personal life,
mm-hmm.
like I think what sways me is because, growing up I was around, violence in one way or another. And so I think because of that, I have my own swayed opinion about things where it's
mm-hmm.
like almost like triggering, where it's like, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel the effects of violence. I don't want anyone to feel that way. It's an awful way to feel. And so like in a way, like I take on the role of like protecting everyone. So no one has to suffer from that. But it's like, in reality, I just have like a bunch of anxiety and I'm like stressed out all the time. And I don't know. Cause like, I agree with you. Like some people really deserve to learn a lesson.
Yeah. Like I also specifically believe in like, let's say, like we're going to go to extreme cases here, but like if a rapist or if a man rapes a woman or a child, like I believe he should get his genitals cut off with him still being awake and having to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows that he's never going to be able to do anything like that ever again. And I want them to heal it so he has to live like that.
Yeah.
In prison.
So that's almost like symbolic because now the people's life that he damaged, they're going to have to live with that emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So now he doesn't get the easy way of just the death penalty. Well, now my life's over. Like he actually has to live through it the same that his victims do.
And I personally believe like people like that should have to mainline into, they shouldn't be able to PC up, which if you don't know what that means, that just means like protective custody. Like when you go to jail, I mean, I've never been to jail, but from what I've read and what I know, like if you PC up or there's like general population, I feel like, most pedophiles, most rapists, they all go into protective custody because they know nobody likes people like that. It's sick. So I think they should have to have that happen to them. And then they should also have to be in the main line. So whatever those guys want to do to him, I hope they do it every day for the rest of their lives. So he can feel much more hurt and much more fear to the point where he would want to kill himself. I would want that for that person because that's one of the most evil things you can do is to try to take some innocence away from like a woman or a child or anything of that nature. Like that's one of the worst things you can do.
No, for sure. I mean, taking someone's innocence in general, I mean, on a lower scale, that's kind of what I feel like happened to me by getting robbed,
Mm-hmm.
And like that was not as invasive, just like mentally it's a lot on me. So I can't even imagine, taking someone's innocence in a more like aggressive physical way. Like I can't even imagine. And then in some cases, like you're saying, like being a child, you're feeling helpless, like
exactly.
That's an awful way to feel, and nobody should ever be in control of your life. And being in some of those situations before, like it's an awful feeling because you don't know at that moment. You're in the most like vulnerable state, and like you just kind of have to surrender to whatever is about to happen. Then you just kind of like take a deep breath and you feel like, okay, like if it's about to happen, like
Yeah, and like that's unfortunate. And I think that's why it's also important to like even for you to understand like if it comes down to it though, you will be violent to protect yourself.
yeah,
That is an exception. I will tase the hell out of somebody. I will pepper spray my whole bottle in their face and hope it stays there permanently. Like,
yeah,
I want you to have those thoughts. I want every woman out there to have those thoughts. Like, it's okay. Like, I want you to hurt anybody that tries to hurt you. Obviously, don't overreact. I mean, there's, you know, people out there that I don't want you to watch this video and be like, oh, he said it was okay. That person looked at me wrong or said something wrong. I'm gonna pepper spray him. No, it's like if you're actually in danger, like
yeah.
you have to know how to justify that, like or like analyze the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But
Actually, it's you know how I said like if someone ever did something to my family, like I still wouldn't do violence.
yeah,
It's hard because if I'm really thinking about it, if you told me something that you did to my family, I'm really good and bad about disassociating where it's like you can tell me it, but if I didn't see it, then it's not true. And I think that's
mm,
why I could justify not being violent because it's like, well, you know, like that makes me really sad, but like if say I'm like walking down the street and someone is trying to like okay, so like for example, my little brother got punched in the face. In that moment all I wanted was to be violent. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would be violent for my loved ones, but only if I physically saw it. And I don't know, like if like I feel those feelings of wanting to be violent,
mm-hmm.
but if it came down to it, I don't know if I could. Because I
Well,
think if I, because okay, here's the thing. I think I saw the kid that punched my little brother in the face, and once I saw him, I realized that he was just a little kid too, and I just
so what you're saying is you wanted to fight like a 6-year-old.
no, I mean I don't know, like
I'm just messing with you. No, I get what you're saying. It's just upsetting, like because you knew Gio was hurting, you wanted to protect him, essentially.
yeah, and like I think that's what it is I'll fight harder for other people than myself. And I think why it's really hard too is I do have really bad anger issues. And so like I still get all of the feelings of wanting to be violent. And I think
Mm,
that's why I can like relate to what you're saying. But because I don't really express those outward, like physically, like
mm-hmm.
it's like a lot inside.
I, I'm, I guess thinking about it, I can get on board with. I agree with controlled violence in a setting that is like I was saying, like my hypotheticals. I was saying, like if a rapist got caught
Uh
doing it,
huh.
it would be in a controlled setting, which they would have surgeons, cut off his genitals.
Mhm.
You know, and that's in a controlled setting, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But such as gang violence, that does affect people and their livelihood. People, innocent people that are just trying to live their lives. Maybe they can't afford means to get out of any neighborhood. So
Mhm.
that's also a whole different perspective on violence. Like I can understand violence of that nature. Like they could be unlucky and get caught in like a drive-by and they have nothing to do with it. They're literally just a bystander that got unlucky because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
No, and it happens too often. I mean, when I lived in a not so good neighborhood at one point, we knew this old guy and he was in the street and a car was coming really fast at him and they dragged him down the road and they killed him. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like if he wasn't right there at the store at that time, the top store, like that wouldn't have happened. But everyone's always in a hurry, doing things they shouldn't be doing, and not even thinking twice that someone's crossing the street.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I had to be very vague with that story, but the point is, like, it just sucks to not even be connected and live a very like honest life and still
It's
have
just
to have those outcomes.
it's unfortunate, yeah. And then like it's just like people do their best, but I mean I do feel like violence is a part of life and it is needed.
Mm-hmm.
Only because without violence there can't be peace, just like without light there can't be dark. Like you need both ends of the spectrum in order to have a nice balance.
It's crazy though that we fight to be peaceful,
Mm.
but I also understand the same concept as like if I was never sad, I wouldn't know to appreciate being happy
Mm-hmm.
because then all the time I would just be neutral.
Exactly, and we'd be robots essentially.
But isn't that like really weird? That like I want to be happy and peaceful so bad. I'm gonna kill you and all your family, or like not your,
Mm.
like that's wild to me. Like, can't we just get along? Like, if we're all fighting for the same thing, why are we fighting at all?
Power and people that are evil is how is what I believe over stuff like that. Like, there's top people that want to make more money, whether it be in wherever,
Mm-hmm.
let's say in my neighborhood, and there's a guy in the next neighborhood that wants to make money too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't agree with what he did because he's messing with my money. Well, now I'm going to threaten to fight him and just say it's for peace and make some BS story up that's going to cover it all up. So all my neighbors are on my side still, and I want all his neighbors on my side.
So I say be humble, get a hug, and eat some dinner together. Like, it's not that serious, guys.
But like,
but unfortunately, that's how it is. But like, it doesn't need to be.
I mean, with the spectrum of violence, though, like, I do believe there does need to be violence. Like, I feel like being appreciative, like how you said, you want to be, if you weren't sad, you wouldn't learn to appreciate being happy. I feel like it's important to also appreciate being happy. I mean, appreciate being sad when you're sad, though, because it's going to make that happy moment that much better. Because appreciation is more than being happy. I feel like that's a deeper emotion than just being happy or sad. That's very surface level.
It's like the whole process.
Yeah.
I definitely need to take notes on that.
I just wanted to cover some stuff with you guys. So I was just looking up, and like there's like 5 or 4, I don't know, I'm looking up, let's say the 5 main types of violence. Of course, physical violence, that's a given. Verbal violence, including hate speech, which we're in America, speech is illegal, so get a thicker skin. I'm sorry, that's how I feel about speech. Just get a thicker skin, bro. If you don't think I hear stuff every day that I don't like, but I don't go and cry about it. I just move on with my life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like verbal violence for me personally is worse than physical violence because words stick with you.
Yeah, for sure.
But where I can kind of like draw my line, which is kind of like get a thicker skin, is like it would benefit you in life in general in every single situation to have a thicker skin 100%, but that's easier said than done. So what I take from that and how I can relate to you on that is when the people I love and care about are saying things, or I'm taking it as they're saying things that are hurting my feelings, that's going to stick with me. That's the type of verbal violence I wouldn't, like. That would be bad. But if, like you're saying, someone's on the street saying some awful, terrible, racist something thing about me, that's your opinion, and like it is what it is. Like,
so I think the hard part there is like what I've analyzed, which is still technically my opinion, is like when situations like that happen, I feel like that people get mad because it's, for one, it's an insecurity to them. For two, they know there's some truth to it. But the important part is to realize there's some truth to it and just be okay with it.
But what do you mean? Like the person that's getting
talked to, like not necessarily being the racist, but let's say just like being sexist, or like, I mean, not every situation. It's hard to explain, but I feel like it's an insecurity of theirs, so they're defensive with quickness, and that's where it does come into where you need to know how to control your emotions around your insecurities and not let it affect you and not let it get you defensive.
Oh, because if someone's being verbally violent to you, and let's say it is someone that's close to you, of course they're going to say the things that you are insecure about or don't like because they're trying to hurt you. Yeah. Like if they're choosing to use verbal violence with you, then they want to hurt you. And so of course they're going to say the things that you're insecure about because they want you to feel bad.
I mean, honestly, if you have somebody like that in your life that's part of your family, you probably shouldn't associate with them.
Well, if you have anyone in your life like that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, hypothetically.
I mean, I guess I only said that because I was thinking, how can a stranger know things about you? But I guess they could comment physical things about you.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. I guess it could be anyone.
Yeah, and like some people are really good. Like some strangers, like I'm one in particular. Like I can look at somebody, and I would say 8 to 9 times out of 10, I can identify what people are insecure about or what's going to tick them off. Like I know how to read people enough to know what's going to piss them off.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
like it just is what it is. And like one of my best friends knows how to do that too. He's really good at it. Yeah. So it's just like we kind of, I think, pick that up over the time of living with each other and ticking each other off and learning and, you know, all that fun stuff. But I just feel like it's important to have thicker skin. That's it. That's the end of the story.
That's the end of the story.
All right. And then yeah, the next one is psychological violence.
Oh.
I'm not really sure what Google is meaning by that, because verbal violence kind of plays into psychological violence. I mean, maybe being manipulative is a good way of putting it, like in a negative way, like manipulating to making someone do something that they normally wouldn't do or want to do, but they know how to manipulate them to get it. That's the only thing I can really think of with psychological violence, because it's your psyche, or maybe making you go crazy, like they know you're going to take and they just keep pushing. You know, I don't know.
So we'll put the actual like definitions so you get the actual facts. But I'm thinking too, like that could fall under like manipulative. This is the word I can't say. Manipulative behavior and like narcissists that like know like how to like navigate their way and like really like mess with your brain. Because I feel like I could say something like rude to you and it could really hurt your feelings and it could stick with you, versus me like plotting to know like how am I really gonna destroy you? You know, like there's a difference. I feel like one is like more premeditated and the other one is like in the heat of the moment.
No, for sure. Number 4 was sexual violence, which we already went over, so we're not going to go over that again. We will still put the definition up there. And I'm also not sure what this is either, but it's like, you know, socioeconomic violence. So economic violence, maybe that's like gang violence. I mean, like economic, like in the economy, people being violent with each other, like gang violence, all that good stuff.
And it says
from social groups.
Yeah, I was gonna say sociology.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I was just literally breaking down socioeconomic.
Yeah, but yeah, like he said, we will put the actual definition so we can all gain something from this video.
But other than that, like, just know when it's like one of the best sayings I've heard, which I kind of like. I mean, do you have anything else to say on violence, really? Like, I mean, I feel like violence is a pretty broad topic that can go in so many different directions, so I don't want to go too deep with them. I just wanted to leave them with something at the end of the podcast that is a quote that I like a lot, that I think is relevant to violence. So, like, I wanted to leave with, like, with violence, just know and be able to judge a situation and know, you know, when it's okay to be violent. Just don't go be violent for no reason.
Absolutely.
And the saying that I wanted to share with you guys, let me know in the comments if you enjoy it. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than it is to be a garden in a war. A gardener in a war. So, like, think about that for a minute. Break that down. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So, to break that down for you, you want to be capable of extreme violence, but you want to be able to control it only to express it when need be. But if you're a gardener and you don't know how to express violence, sorry, boo, that's kind of like you.
Yeah.
And you go into war,
like I'm not going to be ready.
You're fucked.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be ready.
So it's better to be a warrior, and everybody should think about that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's going to end today, though. We love you guys.
Subscribe, because every Wednesday we have a new podcast. We've been doing good at being consistent, and we've even We even have posted some extra videos along the way, so we really hope that you've been enjoying them, because we enjoyed filming for you.
Yes. Like I said, we love you guys, and we will see you in episode 4. Peace.